Ah, thanks for letting me know, guys. Yeah, it might help if I turn the microphone on. Let me just recap what I said. Basically, first of all, that's the Lemsips. If you were tuning in yesterday, you'll know I'm absolutely full of man flu. And I'm still full of man flu. Absolutely full of it. And my brain's not working. I didn't turn the microphone on. So let me tell you what's going on tonight. So yes, as you can see from the thumbnail, it's Liam Lawson versus Yuki Tsunoda for the final seat in the Red Bull family, which is the Racing Bulls seat, believe it or not. We do know who those other three drivers are, and they are confirmed and nailed on. So, and we've also got David Coulthard weighing in on Lewis Hamilton. So we've got two stories for you tonight. Yeah, and if you didn't know, this is F1 Grandstand, and if you're an F1 fan, you are in the right place. Hit the like and the subscribe button. Get involved, and it's so lovely to have you. And the first story coming in from David Comerford is that headline story. Hey Gemma, hey Eric, I'm sure you can hear me now. Oh, really? I should have taken the night off. I am so full of Beechams, it's untrue. Okay, so we're going old school. We're going newsroom style, printed out. So David Comerford, this is his story. So Laurent Mekies, this is their headline, already has a preference as Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda fight for the Racing Bulls seat. So let me fill you in on the drivers who are nailed on. Isaac Hadjar is getting promoted to the Red Bull seat that Yuki currently has. So the Red Bull seats will be Max Verstappen and Isaac Hadjar for 2026. So the Racing Bulls seats, Arvid Lindblad is definitely taking one of those seats, which leaves one seat left. Now, earlier this year, a document was leaked. We covered it here on F1 Grandstand, saying that Yuki Tsunoda is out. And this was just before Christian Horner got sacked. It was at that time. Then Laurent Mekies took over as team principal. But as far as everyone knew in the paddock and on the grid, Yuki Tsunoda is not going to be driving in a Red Bull or a Racing Bull this next year. He's going to have to find a new drive. Now, as things have transpired, and now Laurent Mekies is basically team principal over at Red Bull, and also has the influence on the Racing Bulls team as well, the tide has turned. So we know Lindblad's going to be racing for Racing Bulls, but Yuki Tsunoda is basically having conversations with Laurent Mekies, and he said that he would love to go back to Racing Bulls. Now you got to remember, Red Bull dropped Lawson. They put Lawson in that Red Bull seat. They dropped him after just 2 races at the beginning of this season, 2025. The same thing they did to Pierre Gasly, by the way, in 2019. But here's the thing that's really fascinating. According to David, Yuki Tsunoda currently has a slight edge over Liam Lawson for the Racing Bull seat. That's crazy to me. Because let's have a look at both of those drivers. Right now, Yuki Tsunoda is 19th in the championship with 12 points. Liam Lawson is 15th in the championship with 20 points. Now, Liam Lawson is in the sister team in the Racing Bulls car, which is supposed to be a car that's worse, right? But we know it's easier to drive. But Max has proven that the Red Bull car is actually quicker if you can drive it like Max drives it. Yuki Tsunoda has not been on point. Yuki Tsunoda's had 3 Q3 appearances. Lawson's had 5 Q3 appearances. But points mean prizes, don't they? Points mean prizes. Yuki Tsunoda has not scored anywhere near enough points for that Red Bull's car this season. Liam Lawson, you could argue, has bounced back from an embarrassing situation at Red Bull, getting dropped after 2 races. All that hate, all that doubt, and he's now come back to putting performances which are almost on par with Isaac Hadjar. So obviously the correct decision is to promote Isaac Hadjar to Red Bull. But To think Yuki Tsunoda is in front of Lawson for the Racing Bull seat seems crazy to me. So here's where I think it gets interesting. So the reason why Tsunoda currently has a slight edge over Lawson, according to Laurent Mekies, is because the Japanese driver, Yuki Tsunoda, beat both Lawson and Daniel Ricciardo last season. Well, I'm sorry, that was last season. I mean, who cares about that? You know, we only really care. You can only really judge a driver on his current form and his current performance. Now, Yuki's current form is not strong. Liam Lawson's form's got better throughout the season. And as for what happened last season, the fact that Yuki performed better than Daniel Ricciardo and Lawson, I think is flimsy. I would say it's a flimsy reason for Laurent Mekies to say that Yuki Tsunoda has got the edge over Liam Lawson. So here's what I think that what's really going on. Excuse me, sorry. Here's what I think's really going on. It's two situations, really, isn't it? It's either Laurent Mekies needs Yuki Tsunoda to keep believing he's got hope for a seat. So for the next 8 races, he puts in a shift and performs well for the team. But Yuki should be doing that anyway, because even if he hasn't got a seat, well, this is his shop window to prove that maybe Alpine would come in and offer him a seat. Because they've got an available seat, haven't they, for 2026? So, but I think, so Laurent Mekies playing the game to say, oh, you've still got a chance, Yuki, of getting a Racing Bull seat. You and Lawson are head to head, to keep him competitive and to keep his spirits up and his hopes up that he can get a drive within the family. Or it's something else entirely, which is Yuki Tsunoda's Japanese. He's the only Japanese driver on the grid. F1 politically need a Japanese driver, I'd say, for the fan base, and the manufacturer and the engine manufacturer like Honda. And I think ultimately it could be a political thing, sponsorship, FIA wanting to make sure they've got that Benetton advert of drivers, you know, for different territories covered, so they can keep bringing in those fan bases. And I think it stinks a little bit, because honestly, under any metric, I don't see how you can say Yuki Tsunoda deserves to drive at Racing Bulls next year over Liam Lawson. That's just my opinion, but what do you think? Gemma says I've got wearing a cute sweater. Thanks, Gemma. It's the only thing that's warm. I am so it's keeping my neck warm. Honestly, I am so full of a cold. Yeah, Eric's got a cold as well. Yeah, everyone's got a cold. So Eric says, is it premature to promote Isaac? I think not. I think Isaac is bulletproof, his mentality. I really do think that Isaac is a great choice for Red Bull. I think he seems to have everything you want in a driver. He's got that mentality. I mean, he wasn't backward in coming forward when he was talking about his upset of qualifying and in the last race, was he? He was absolutely outspoken, and I like that in a driver. No, I think Isaac is right for Red Bull. It's Lindblad, I think, is a question mark. The F2 driver who they're saying is his next big thing. If you look at his results, he's not taking it by storm, is he? He's not sort of taking F2 by storm. So I'd say he's more of a question mark. I mean, he looks good, talks well. He's part of the Red Bull family, so I understand why they're going to give him a shot. But Liam Lawson, I have to say, I do believe deserves the Racing Bull seat, even from his last 3 or 4 Grand Prix. Yuki's not done enough. So anyway, so that's the story. That is the story. It's basically Yuki versus Liam Lawson for the final seat for the Racing Bulls. But honestly, I think if they give it Yuki Tsunoda, I think it's political. I don't think it's on merit. And I think if this story's coming out, I think it could just be some mind fuckery from Laurent Mekies to try and keep Yuki focused with a little bit of belief that he's got something to drive for. He should have that anyway. Any F1 driver who hasn't got a contract for 2026, they should really be realising that they're in the shop window and they have to make it count. And that should be enough motivation for them to pull out all the stops. But, you know, Yuki knows Laurent very well. He was his team boss at Racing Bulls. And Yuki did okay for them. Pretty consistent. But again, I do think something more political because he's Japanese. And there's a Japanese fan base. And there's you know, engine manufacturers. And I think it's political. But that's what I think. But that's the story that's come out from David today, is that it's between those two for the final seat. Lindblad definitely getting a seat in the Racing Bull. Isaac Hadjar has agreed that he wants to be driving for the main team, Red Bull, next year in 2026. And Max Verstappen is obviously nailed on. So that is the story coming out today. Gemma's agreeing. She thinks it might be political as well. I think you have to consider it. You have to consider it. I don't like that in sport where, you know, you're ticking boxes. It's a ticking box exercise, but you have to consider it. So that's from David. Next story. This is the good one. David Coulthard absolutely weighing in on Lewis Hamilton. This is a story coming from Planet F1. So what David says is the real question for Lewis Hamilton is, and he's going to say it, is he past his peak? So Hamilton obviously raced 12 seasons for Mercedes F1 team, 18 years using the Mercedes engines. And then obviously Hamilton has taken on a brand new challenge, 2025 championship, joining Ferrari. Now he's had 16 races in his Ferrari career and he hasn't had a podium yet. So it's a pretty difficult start, we can all agree. And his excuses have been, ultimately that's driving kind of a alien driving style with a car that I'm not 100% comfortable with. And then he said, this year I'm arriving at the track having to apply this new driving style that's still alien to me. It doesn't feel natural. And this is where Coulthard has jumped in, because Coulthard's basically saying, well, you can have all the excuses under the sun, but it is just an excuse for a driver who is past his prime in the sport. So Coulthard said, well, the old cliche is it never rains, but it pours. It just feels that off the back of his end of Mercedes, he's lost his mojo. And this is what Coulthard said. And he goes on to be even stronger in his criticism. He goes on to say, we hoped that Hamilton would have rediscovered his form at Ferrari and be energised by the power of the Tifosi, but it just hasn't worked out. And this is where he gets cutting. He said, and now this isn't an opinion business, because I know there'll be people at home going, how dare you say something negative about Lewis Hamilton? The guy is brilliant, and he's been brilliant, but you're judged against your teammate. And that's the one thing that stands between him right now and a big result. He's been constantly beaten by Charles Leclerc. Now, that is a good point, David Coulthard. Hamilton, the most important thing in F1 is how you fare against your teammate. And if you're constantly being beaten by your teammate, and we see Leclerc in Hungary put that Ferrari P1, and Hamilton not even making it into Q3 in qualifying, it's telling. It's telling. So I understand that. So, and then we have to look at the points. Like, points do win prizes. So Hamilton is 46 points behind Leclerc in the driver's standing. So this is where Coulthard weighs in. I struggle to buy into the whole change of culture. It's a race car, right? I struggle to buy into the whole change of culture thing. It's a race car. You know, right, left, throttle, brake. Yes, there's another way of terminology, but a power unit is a power unit. Downforce is downforce. And when you break this sport down to its simplest forms, it's about human and machine. And the very best at their peak are able to master that. So the question is, and I'm going to say it, is Hamilton past his peak. Now, so what Coulthard's basically saying is, if you're a good racing driver, you can put a steering wheel on a washing machine and you still be able to drive it faster than anybody else. Like, if you're a skilled racing driver, it doesn't matter what the characteristics of the car are. You have to adapt to win in that car. That's what the best drivers can do. Now, what he's saying is, Hamilton's saying, well, this car doesn't suit my driving style. It's not what I'm used to. Like I had a Mercedes or even a McLaren, which was basically almost like the same team. They had the same engine. And all of these excuses point to really quite a scared driver who's unable to show the world that he is the best driver, being able to drive a car that's different. And that's the thing. Shouldn't the best drivers in the world be able to get in any car in any race series and be competitive without excuses? Just go into themselves and go, okay, this car's different. How do I adapt to get the best out of this car? And that's what Coulthard's saying. The best driver at the peak of their skills and powers would be able to do that. Gemma says a good workman doesn't blame their tools, springs to mind. Well, exactly. That's what exactly what Coulthard is saying. A good workman doesn't blame his tools, right? Eric says, is that necessarily true in Formula One? So many amazing drivers have not had the optimal car of the years and it's flushed them out. Now, this is true. Now, Eric, I do agree. Like, Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport, and it's such fine margins that's the difference between first and eighth, right? We saw it, didn't we? On the grid, last Grand Prix, there was 4/10 between first and eighth in qualifying. 4/10. So it is fine margins. So drivers might say, if the car doesn't feel quite right, well then, yeah, they're going to lose a tenth here and there. But it depends on your school of thought. Wouldn't the best driver be able to overcome whatever that problem is? Would they be able to get over it and still rinse every bit of performance out of the car? I mean, you could argue Senna could. You could argue Schumacher could. He won world championships in a Benetton, in a Ferrari. That Benetton had no right winning world championships, did it? But, Michael Schumacher won 2 in it. And that Ferrari, really, when he won the first world championship in the Ferrari, I forget the year off the top of my head, was it 2006 or 7? The car wasn't great. Schumacher made it better than it is. So the true greats, I think, can. Well, yeah, Senna in his last McLaren year, but that McLaren, yeah. And then when he went to Williams and he lost the active ride height, and unfortunately that was tragedy actually, because that brilliant platform that Williams had built with their brilliant tech with the active ride height, which then they decided wasn't allowed anymore. So then all of a sudden they had a car which was unbalanced and unfortunately probably played a significant part in the car Senna was driving at his accident. But yeah, Senna was on the ragged edge of every car he ever drove, wasn't he? The ragged edge. Is Hamilton on the ragged edge of that Ferrari? Have we seen that? Does it look like he is? Is he even able to? I mean, are there too many technical aids within the car now that the team have access to change the characteristics of the car that prevent a driver from being sort of really on that ragged edge of a car? I don't know. But I think Hamilton, the most important thing Hamilton needs to do to quieten down the naysayers is he needs to be on a par with Leclerc. He needs to be jockeying for those positions. It can't be Leclerc taking him to school every Grand Prix. Otherwise, the question is always going to be asked is Hamilton good enough? I do believe the 2026 Ferrari is going to suit it, or the 2026 power units, although we do have questions over Ferrari's power unit, as we saw in yesterday's show. But the actual, in theory, the smooth driving style with the regenerative braking and the 50% electrification and 50% and the batch power management needed, it could suit Hamilton. I believe it will. Um, but I understand where Coulthard's coming from. We've just seen Hamilton get taken to school all season by Leclerc. We would have thought that gap would have closed more than it has. Hamilton has improved. There's no doubt about it. Hamilton has improved. He's closed the gap. But I think now we need to see some performances from Hamilton where he beats Leclerc this season, and not from a technical a malfunction or an engine failure for Leclerc or anything like that. We need to see him beat Leclerc in qualifying, and we need to see him beat Leclerc in the race as well. I think that's what Hamilton needs. He needs a couple of those. So I do understand why Coulthard's wading in on Hamilton. I mean, because you remember when Schumacher went to Mercedes for the last couple of years of his career, he didn't do much, did he? It was really just a footnote in his amazing career. He wasn't competitive. It was just a nothing part of his career, and it would be awful for that to happen to Hamilton. You know, we want to see him at least be competitive, more competitive than he is now, and he needs to. And his first job is to beat Charles Leclerc. It really is simple as that. Excuse me, sorry, I'm trying not to cough and splutter my way through the show. But yeah, but what do you think, Eric? Here's my question. Do you think Hamilton can beat Charles Leclerc this year in a Grand Prix? What do you think in the chat? Can Hamilton show us something with this car this season? Eric says, I don't think so. I think he needs to, though. I think for his own mental health, I think we need to see him out and out beat Leclerc at least once this season. That's what I think. Actually, Gemma's made a very good point. If we get a wet race, I think it's on. I think you're right. It's possible. I think we could, you know, that's a good point, that, Gemma. If it rains, I'm trying to think where we might get a rainy race before the end of the season. But yeah, well, it is slippery when wet. I'm pretty sure there's whose album was that? Slippery When was that Wet 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 back in the 80s? But yeah, I think Gemma's made a very good point. If we get a wet race, winter is coming. We're getting the Game of Thrones references, Gemma. Winter is coming. I've got the man flute. Marty Pello. Thank you. Oh, Bon Jovi was Slippery When Wet. You're right, Eric. Thank you. Yeah. Also a Max quote. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so high on Beecham's, guys. Honestly. So yeah. So I think Coulthard's got a point. I think Lewis has got a lot to prove, and I think I want to see him have at least one race where he beats Leclerc. Just one. I'll take it. I'll take one, and I hope he does. But yeah, but tonight's show is going to be quite short and sweet because my voice is absolutely going, and I really do need to try and get myself right for tomorrow so I can bring you far more of an entertaining show. Because tonight I feel like I phoned it in a little bit for you. I'm sorry about that. Tomorrow will be better. But yeah, so just a recap of the main stories. Laurent Mekies basically told Yuki Tsunoda that he's got a chance of a seat in the Racing Bulls team next year. And it's between him and Liam Lawson. That is the big news coming in from David Comerford. And then David Coulthard wading in on Lewis Hamilton, saying he just might be past his prime. It just might be over for Hamilton. And unless he beats Leclerc, well, he's never going to be world champion again then, is he? He has to beat his teammate first. And a lot of these excuses for Coulthard are just that. They're just excuses. So that is tonight's show. Sorry it wasn't more entertaining for you guys. I am absolutely man-fluing, and I am going to cry off early and get into my bed. But I'm so glad you joined me. Thank you, Gemma. Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for jumping on tonight. Better show tomorrow, I promise. Tonight is a little bit lame. Tomorrow will be better. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. This is F1 Grandstand. Please like, share, join the community. It means the world that you do all of that, and it honestly means the world to me that you're getting involved. And I love this community; they're the best, and we are the fastest growing community on YouTube. So I love this. So thank you so much for getting involved. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully with a bit more of a voice, a bit less of the flow, and a bit more fun. All right, guys, have a great evening. Ta ta.